Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a truth that might sting a little bit. Nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody cares about your struggles. Nobody cares about how hard life has been for you. The world is not waiting for you to show up with your problems. The world is waiting for you to show up with your results. And the faster you realize that, the faster your life begins to shift. Because when you accept that nobody cares, you stop looking for sympathy and you start creating strategy. You stop begging for support and you start building strength. The truth is simple but powerful. Nobody owes you anything, and the world is not going to stop and clap just because you showed up. The world does not care how tired you are, how much you've been through, or how unfair your circumstances might seem. The world pays attention to one thing and one thing only: results. And until you understand that, you will keep living beneath your potential. Let me give you a hook that should shake you up right now. Nobody is going to rescue you, but everybody will respect you when you rescue yourself. Think about it. When was the last time somebody got rewarded for excuses? When was the last time complaining paid the bills? When was the last time sympathy opened doors of opportunity? It doesn't happen because sympathy doesn't change circumstances. Excuses don't solve problems. At the end of the day, results are what move the needle. And the moment you stop waiting for someone to care and start producing results that speak louder than words, your entire life shifts. People don't clap for the struggle. They clap for the success that comes out of the struggle. Now here's the part you need to grab hold of. Results don't come because you want them. Results don't come because you're wishing for them. Results come because you are willing to do the work consistently when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, and when nobody seems to care. That's where champions are made. That's where leaders are built. That's where destinies are forged. The late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices that nobody else sees, that's where your story of greatness begins. Here's another hook for you. You don't need applause to perform. You need discipline to produce. Most people waste years waiting for approval, waiting for someone to validate their dream, waiting for someone to believe in them. Let me tell you something powerful. Nobody is coming to give you permission to be great. If you're waiting for permission, you're already losing time. Greatness comes when you give yourself permission to rise, to build, to go after what's yours. The moment you decide that results matter more than recognition, you will begin to see doors open that excuses could never unlock. You've got to start looking at your life like a scoreboard. The scoreboard doesn't care about your excuses. The scoreboard doesn't care about your feelings. The scoreboard doesn't care about how unfair the referee is. The scoreboard only cares about points. And in life, those points are your results. So if you don't like the score of your life right now, stop blaming the coach. Stop blaming the team. Stop blaming the crowd. Pick up the ball and start scoring. Because once you put points on the board, suddenly everybody starts paying attention. Here's another truth. Results attract resources. When you produce results, people want to connect with you. Opportunities begin to chase you instead of you chasing them. Doors begin to swing open because results are magnetic. Nobody cares when you're just talking about what you're going to do, but everybody listens when you show them what you've done. Talk inspires for a moment, but results inspire for a lifetime. That's why your greatest statement isn't what you say, it's what you produce. So here's the hook I want you to remember: results silenced out. When you have results, you don't have to argue with the critics. You don't have to explain yourself to the skeptics. You don't have to beg for belief. Results speak louder than every word that ever comes out of your mouth. People may not care about your excuses, but they cannot ignore your evidence. They cannot deny what's undeniable. That's why the most powerful thing you can do right now is stop talking about it and start producing it. Nobody owes you. Nobody cares about your excuses, but everybody will respect your results. And when you commit to that truth, you stop waiting and you start winning. Excuses are easy, and that's why most people choose them. Excuses feel good in the moment because they give you temporary comfort, but they rob you of long-term progress. You can't build a future on excuses because excuses don't move the needle forward. You can tell yourself why it's too hard, why it's unfair, why you're tired, or why you don't feel like doing it. But at the end of the day, none of that pays the bills. None of that gets you closer to the life you were created to live. Excuses create stories, but discipline creates success. That's why winners separate themselves from the crowd not by what they say, but by what they do consistently, even when nobody's watching. Here's a hook to hold on to. The same energy you use to make excuses is the same energy you could use to make progress. The only difference is one produces regret and the other produces results. Every time you choose an excuse over discipline, you're choosing short-term comfort over long-term growth. But when you choose discipline, you're making deposits into your future that will pay dividends far greater than you can imagine right now. Discipline is not about feeling motivated every single day, because motivation comes and goes. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. Champions are not built on feelings, they are built on habits. Successful people don't wait for the perfect mood, the perfect circumstances, or the perfect timing. They create progress through discipline no matter what. That's why when life gets tough, those with discipline keep moving forward, and those with excuses get left behind. Think about this. Your future self is watching your present self. 10 years from now, the person you become will look back at the choices you made today. Will they thank you for your discipline, or will they despise you for your excuses? Every decision you make is a seed, and you are planting something for your future harvest. Excuses plant weeds that choke out potential, but discipline plants seeds that grow into a harvest of success, abundance, and fulfillment. Here's another hook for you. Discipline is the currency you use to buy freedom. Excuses keep you broke, stuck, and limited. But discipline pays for the freedom you dream about, the freedom to control your time, the freedom to live life on your terms, the freedom to build a legacy that outlives you. That's not purchased with excuses. It's purchased with discipline. Every early morning, every late night, every hard choice, every sacrifice is a down payment on your freedom. Excuses, on the other hand, are thieves. They steal your time, they steal your energy, and they steal your destiny. You don't notice it in the moment because excuses feel comfortable, but comfort is often the enemy of greatness. Excuses whisper, you can do it tomorrow, while discipline says, do it today because tomorrow is not promised. Excuses tell you nobody will notice if you slack off, but discipline reminds you, you will notice and your future will feel it. Excuses are a liar, discipline is the truth. Let me make it real for you. Success doesn't care about your excuses. Success doesn't care if you're tired. Success doesn't care if you've been through struggles. Success doesn't care if you don't feel like it. Success only responds to discipline, consistency, and execution. That's why the people who rise to the top are not always the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to let excuses control them. They understood that discipline over time beats talent without effort. So here's the final hook I want you to grab. Excuses build walls, but discipline builds doors. Every time you choose an excuse, you're stacking another brick in the wall that keeps you trapped. But every time you choose discipline, you're building a door that opens to opportunities, breakthroughs, and blessings. The question is, are you going to keep stacking walls, or are you ready to start building doors? Because your future is waiting on your decision today. Focus is the difference between people who dream about success and people who actually achieve it. Most people don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because they're distracted. They waste energy chasing too many things at once, listening to too many voices, and trying to please too many people. When your energy is scattered, your results are scattered. But when you focus, your energy becomes like a laser. It cuts through obstacles, it burns through limitations, and it produces results that distractions could never give you. Here's the hook: success doesn't come to the most talented, it comes to the most focused. Every single day, distractions are competing for your attention. Your phone, your notifications, your social media feed, the opinions of others, each one is pulling you away from your destiny. And every time you let them win, you're giving away pieces of your future. Distraction is the silent killer of dreams, and the tragedy is that most people don't even realize how much it's costing them. Focus, on the other hand, is the multiplier of destiny. What you focus on grows. What you focus on gets stronger. What you focus on becomes the direction your life moves toward. Think about this. A magnifying glass placed under the sun doesn't burn anything when it moves around. But when you hold it steady and focused, that same light can create fire. Your life is the same way. You already have the energy, the potential, the gifts inside you. But until you concentrate them in one direction, you'll never ignite the fire of greatness within you. Here's another hook. Scattered effort produces scattered results, but focused effort produces explosive results. The reason so many people feel stuck is not because they're not working hard, it's because they're working hard on the wrong things or on too many things. Hard work without focus is wasted energy. But when you align your hard work with focus, you create momentum that cannot be stopped. That's why the most successful people don't try to do everything. They master one thing at a time. They understand that focus is not about doing more, it's about doing less with greater intensity. Focus also requires the courage to say no. No to distractions, no to temptations, no to people who don't align with your vision. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something meaningful. Every moment you spend comparing yourself to others is a moment stolen from working on yourself. Focus says, I don't care what everybody else is doing. I care about what I'm becoming. And here's the hook. You can't win your race if you keep watching everybody else run theirs. When you focus, you unlock clarity. And clarity is power. You begin to see opportunities you were blind to before. You begin to recognize the steps that lead you forward instead of sideways. You begin to realize that the path to success isn't about chasing everything. It's about chasing the right thing with relentless intensity. Focus gives you the power to ignore the noise and hear your own inner voice. It gives you the strength to silence critics because you're too busy creating results to argue with opinions. Another truth you need to embrace is that focus builds consistency, and consistency builds credibility. When you keep showing up, when you keep working in silence, when you keep aiming in one direction long enough, your results will eventually speak so loud that nobody can ignore you. People will think you came out of nowhere, but the truth is you were focused when they were distracted. You were building when they were scrolling. You were grinding when they were gossiping. That's the power of focus. So here's the hook I'll leave you with. Focus turns ordinary into extraordinary. It takes the same hours everybody else has, the same challenges everybody else faces, but it transforms them into progress that separates you from the crowd. Your power isn't trying to do everything. It's in doing what matters most with everything you've got. That's how focus becomes your superpower, and that's how you build a life that demands attention without ever begging for it. Becoming the best version of yourself is not about competing with anyone else. It's about competing with the person you were yesterday. Too many people waste their lives trying to prove themselves to others, trying to show the world that they are worthy, trying to keep up with someone else's highlight reel. But here's the truth. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself and start improving yourself, your life takes on a completely different direction, because the world doesn't reward you for being a copy of someone else. It rewards you for mastering yourself. Here's the hook. You'll never outshine others until you outgrow yourself. The best version of you is not going to show up by accident. It requires intentional growth, daily effort, and a relentless commitment to self-mastery. That means you don't wake up every morning asking, how do I look compared to them? You wake up asking, am I better than I was yesterday? Improvement is an inside job, and when you focus on elevating your mindset, your discipline, your skills and your habits, your external results begin to shift automatically. Success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the person capable of sustaining it. One of the biggest traps people fall into is living for validation. They post for likes, they work for applause, they move for approval. But here's the problem. If people can validate you, people can also invalidate you. If they can build you up, they can tear you down. And if your sense of worth is tied to their opinions, you'll always live like a puppet pulled by someone else's strings. Becoming the best version of you means cutting the strings and saying, I don't need your approval to grow. I don't need your applause to rise. I don't need your attention to become my best. That's the kind of inner power that transforms lives. Here's another hook. People don't respect perfection, they respect progression. You don't have to be flawless to be valuable. You just have to be improving. The person who commits to learning, growing, and becoming more every single day will always outlast the person who tries to look like they have it all together. Real success is built on consistency, not image. That's why becoming the best version of you requires humility. The humility to admit you don't know it all, the humility to seek knowledge, and the humility to put in the work when nobody is watching. Another powerful truth is that the best version of you requires discipline over desire. Your desires may tell you to stay comfortable, but discipline pushes you to stay committed. Your desires may tell you to slow down, but discipline tells you to speed up. Your desires may crave instant gratification, but discipline builds lasting transformation. Every day you're either feeding the weaker version of you or the stronger version of you. And whichever one you feed is the one that wins. Don't miss this. Becoming the best version of yourself is not about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. The money, the recognition, the influence, those are byproducts. The real win is the person you evolve into when you refuse to settle for average. The real victory is looking in the mirror and knowing you kept promises to yourself. You did the work when nobody cared, and you built a character stronger than your circumstances. So here's the hook I'll leave you with. Stop chasing to be better than others and start chasing to be unrecognizable to the old you. When people see you 6 months from now, they should say, "What happened to you? You're not the same." And you'll know the answer. You became the best version of yourself, not by accident, not by approval, but by intentional growth, relentless focus, and unshakable discipline. That's where true greatness lies. And that's where your life begins to rise to levels you never thought possible. Pain is one of the greatest teachers in life, but most people try to avoid it. They run from it, they numb it, they complain about it, but they never learn from it. What they don't realize is that pain is temporary. It doesn't last forever. But the greatness it produces when you endure it can last for generations. Pain is the price tag attached to growth. And if you're not willing to pay that price, you'll never cash in on the reward. Here's the hook: the pain you feel today is the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. Every breakthrough you've ever admired, every success story you've ever celebrated, every person you've ever looked up to, they all went through pain before they reached greatness. The difference between them and the average person is not that they didn't experience struggle, it's that they didn't quit when the struggle came. They pushed through when others tapped out. They turned their pain into fuel instead of letting it become an excuse. Pain doesn't show up to destroy you, it shows up to develop you. It strips away weakness, it reveals your strength, and it demands that you grow into a stronger version of yourself. Think about the process of building muscle. When you go to the gym, you put your muscles under pressure until they tear at a microscopic level. That tearing is painful. But when the muscle heals, it grows back stronger, bigger, and more resilient. Without the pain, there is no growth. Life works the same way. The painful moments are not punishments. They are preparation. They are tearing you down only to build you back stronger than you were before. Here's another hook: don't curse the pain, because the pain is building the person you prayed to become. The problem is most people stop too soon. They quit in the middle of the process because it hurts. They give up right before the breakthrough because it feels uncomfortable. But pain is not the signal to stop, it's the signal to keep going. Pain means progress. Pain means you're stretching into territory you've never been before. Pain means you're evolving. If you never feel pain, it means you're staying comfortable, and comfort is the enemy of growth. Comfort keeps you the same, but pain pushes you to become more. Here's the truth: pain is temporary, but quitting is permanent. The discomfort you feel will fade, but the regret of giving up will stay with you for the rest of your life. Pain may last for a season, but regret lasts for a lifetime. Which one would you rather carry? If you can endure the pain for a little while, you can experience the greatness that lasts forever. But if you let the pain win, you'll live with the haunting thought of what could have been. Another powerful perspective is that pain connects you to your purpose. The things you've gone through, the hardships you've endured, the trials you've survived, those experiences shape you into the person who can fulfill your calling. Your pain becomes your platform. Your scars become your story. And your story becomes the key that unlocks hope in others. That's why your pain is never wasted. What hurt you can also help someone else heal, but only if you decide to keep going long enough to turn it into greatness. So here's the final hook: don't let temporary pain steal eternal greatness. When it hurts, don't quit, push harder. When it burns, don't back down, lean in. When it feels like too much, remind yourself that this pain is not permanent, but the reward waiting on the other side will outlast you, outshine your struggle, and outlive your lifetime. Pain is temporary, but greatness is forever. And the choice is yours. Will you let the pain stop you, or will you let it shape you into who you were always meant to be? Nobody cares until you win, and that's one of the most freeing truths you will ever embrace. People might doubt you, overlook you, criticize you, or even laugh at you while you're building. They may not clap for your effort. They may not respect your struggle, and they may not even acknowledge your potential. But the moment you win, the moment your results show up, everything changes. Suddenly, the same people who ignored you start asking how you did it. The same ones who doubted you start saying they always believed in you. And the same ones who criticized you start trying to connect with you. That's why you can't base your grind on who supports you right now, because support is temporary, but results are permanent. Here's the hook: stop chasing applause and start chasing achievement, because applause fades, but achievement echoes. Most people waste their energy trying to convince others to believe in them. They argue with doubters. They defend their dreams to skeptics, and they wait for validation from people who don't even believe in themselves. That's a losing strategy. Nobody is obligated to believe in you. Nobody has to understand your vision. Nobody has to clap for your progress. The only belief you need is your own, and the only validation you need is from the results you create. The truth is, belief follows evidence. Once people see the evidence of your success, their belief shows up automatically. So don't waste your time trying to persuade people with words. Persuade them with proof. Here's another hook. Your silence while you're building will make the loudest noise when you win. You don't have to announce every move. You don't have to prove every step, and you don't have to justify your journey. Stay quiet, stay disciplined, and let your results do the talking. Because when you win, your victory will be undeniable. People can argue with your opinions, but they cannot argue with your evidence. They can ignore your words, but they cannot ignore your wins. This is why consistency is so powerful. Winning doesn't happen overnight. It's the compound effect of small, disciplined actions stacked over time. While others are distracted, you're focused. While others are quitting, you're persisting. While others are waiting for motivation, you're moving with discipline. Day by day, brick by brick, you're building something that cannot be denied. And when it finally shows up, people will think it happened suddenly, but you'll know it was years in the making. That's the power of winning quietly until the world can't ignore you anymore. Nobody cares until you win, but that should inspire you instead of discourage you. Why? Because it means you don't have to wait for anyone's approval to get started. You don't have to wait for people to cheer you on before you take action. You don't have to wait for people to believe in you before you believe in yourself. Their indifference is actually your advantage because it gives you the freedom to build in peace without the pressure of expectation. You're not here to prove people wrong. You're here to prove yourself right. And here's the most important hook. When you finally win, you won't even need their validation anymore. By then, you'll have grown so much, achieved so much, and built so much that their opinion won't even matter. You'll realize that the real reward wasn't the applause, it was the person you became through the process. The win was not just the money, the status, or the recognition. The win was the discipline, the resilience, and the strength you developed when nobody was watching. So let people doubt you, let them overlook you, let them criticize you. Don't waste time fighting for their attention. Just win. Win so big that they can't deny it. Win so consistently that they can't ignore it. Win so powerfully that their silence turns into applause and their doubts turn into respect. Because the truth is, nobody cares until you win. So go out there, do the work, stay disciplined, and win anyway.